Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Mr. Rogers' Afternoon Clay School. Today, I'm going to cut the lid out of this box that I made. This is a hollow cube. We'll call this non-textured side the bottom, I think. And I'm going to cut the lid out about an inch or so below what I'm calling the top of the box right there. So, to get started, here's my air hole that I poked into basically it's a clay balloon, and I didn't want the balloon to break as it shrank onto the air pocket trapped inside. So I put this hole here to let the gas inside the balloon escape as the clay shrank and dried. So I might as well use that hole as part of the lid to hide it. So I'm gonna I'll just draw a straight line here with my dull number 2 Ticonderoga pencil. There's my Ticonderoga. And I've been using this pencil now for about 7 weeks. Just for clay. And I get a lot of mileage out of a dull number 2 pencil. It's one of the tools I use the most often when I hand build. And Ticonderoga is in no way reimbursing me for these free advertising. So on this side, I'll put a keyhole in it. So I'll go down a bit and then up a bit and then a curve and then over. There we go. So by doing this, it will help the lid not shake off real easy. Help secure the lid. And on this side, I'll just do like a nice hill shape. And on this side, I'll do a zigzag. Up, go up, and then down, and then up again. I just want to end right there so my sides match up. All right. So these lines are gonna tell me where to cut when I cut with my X-Acto. So here's my NASCO X-Acto knife with a very used up dull blade. They don't need to be sharp to cut through clay. This clay is like it's leather hard, but it's a softer leather hard. It's not super tough. If you wait too long and you let these slabs get too hard, then cutting the lid out becomes very difficult. And you'll probably want to rehydrate the clay a few times, maybe a dozen times, before you try to cut the lid out. You'll have a really difficult time. So when I cut this lid out, let me turn this on its side to show you. I don't want to take the knife and go in at a 0-degree angle. I want to pitch the knife at a 45, either 45 this way or a 45 this way. Either one will work. Even 30 and 60 will work, just as long as it's not at a 0 angle straight in. I call this cut like at the jack-o'-lantern style. It's how you would cut out a jack-o'-lantern lid out of a pumpkin, so the lid doesn't drop into the pumpkin. So pitch that knife at a 45-ish angle and try to go all the way through the clay. The thinner, it doesn't have to be an X-Acto knife, but the thinner the knife, the better. So here's another tool I could use. This is just a common clay modeling tool. and that will also work. The X-Acto knife works the best though. A box cutter will do in a pinch. They're just not as easy to control as an X-Acto knife. When you're pulling the blade towards your body, just be careful. The corners can be tricky. And if it's gonna stick, that's where it's gonna stick. And it's not gonna be super clean. I have to clean it up when I'm done. Look, every time you cut a lid out, it usually looks a hot mess until you clean it up. All right, one last cut here. This is the straight across guy. There we go. And I cut that out at a 45, and now it should just, if I carefully separate these two pieces now, a little bit at a time. There we go. I don't want to tear anything. There we go. Perfect. So it looks like this was the last side I put on. So I could not reinforce this seam here and here, and on the lid part here and here. Since I dropped that last piece on yesterday, I haven't been able to see inside here. So I'm gonna get some soft clay to reinforce those seams. So my slab box doesn't fall apart. And this is a pretty crucial step. Don't skip this part. And it just takes a minute to do. Take a piece of clay and you roll out a real thin coil. I'll do the lid first, and I'll start here. I'll just put it right here in the center, like that. And just take, you know what, I'm gonna add a little moisture to it. So I just took this coil, added a little bit of water, and I'm gonna take a tool and sort of blend these, let that slip in a bit. And I'm just using the butt end of my needle tool here, the non-business end of the needle, if you will. Before I jam that coil on there, I wanna make sure there's no air pockets behind it. All right, that looks pretty good. Now this coil's a little damp, so I'll get a better stick. It's not saturated, it's just damp. All right, it's an excess here. Cut that off, cut that off. I'll save these for the box. All right, then I take my eraser. Now because this coil is a little sloppy, my eraser might stick, but it seems all right. Jam that in there. All right, I'm gonna let that chill there for a little bit, and then I'm gonna blend it away. All right, then I'm gonna go to this box, take a peek in there, and there's a little bit of a crevice here. So I'm gonna take the dull point of my Ticonderoga and just sort of blend that crevice away. You don't see any air pockets in there. if you see any kind of dark cave, that's generally a not good. All right, I take this coil. And if it goes in pieces like that, it's all right. It's kind of broke up a little bit. It's not gonna hurt it. Set that in place. Jam it in there. It's a little difficult to get to because of the angle, but put that excess. No, I might not need that excess because this will spread out. There we go. That looks pretty good. And then next I take a wooden knife and I blend that seam, that coil into the seam. And this is a step I did to all the other sides when I actually put the piece together. But I could not do this one because this was the last piece I had dropped on and I just could not access the inside of the box. All right, so the next tool I need is a wooden knife that has a nice curvy end to do my blend. And that's this tool. And it's a knife on one side and this rounded, kind of like a spoon shape on the other. And I just made it a little damp. And I don't want to touch the pot with wet hands because I'll make it slimy and difficult to hold and stuff. So just take that scoopy part of the tool and compress that coil into the seam. And it doesn't look that great yet, but I'll clean it up in a bit when the clay sets up a little bit. That looks fantastic. I don't see any cracks and crevices in there. And that's the easy part. Now I got some cleanup to do in here, and we're gonna talk about these super sharp edges in the next video and how I deal with them. All right, thanks for watching how to cut out the lid of a slab cube.